MultiGreen, building attainable, sustainable, and tech-enabled multifamily real estate through impact investing.
Welcome to the MultiGreen podcast. I'm your host, Randy Norton, and today we'll be speaking with Steve Morris, MultiGreen's Director of Finance and Head of Operations. Based in New York City, Steve has 14 years of experience as a senior manager at E&Y and as a CPA specializing in real estate development, private equity, and publicly traded REITs. There is nobody more qualified to lead the MultiGreen operation. Enjoy our conversation. Steve, thanks for being on the podcast today.
Thanks a lot for having me, Randy.
It's going to be fun talking about the operations of this business. It is so operationally intensive, and having a guy like you at the helm is going to be extremely helpful. So you're based in New York. How long have you been in New York now?
It's just going on 8 years. 8 years this August.
8 years, and I'm sure every day you go on a walk, you can look outside and look at many buildings. What is your favorite building in New York?
I do actually walk around the city every day. I'm a bit of a flaneur. I enjoy it. It's one thing I love about New York. And not to sound too touristy or cliche, but whenever I look at the skyline, my eyes are always drawn to the Empire State Building. It is such a magnificent building, and I draw so much inspiration from it, especially, considering it was built in the 1930s and still almost 90 years later, it just stands tall in the skyline, and everything that went into putting it together, and how so few buildings match it, even 90 days later, or 90 years, I should say, later. It's just such an impressive feat.
And they did it so quickly. It was truly the first building in the United States that was built in a lean production environment. And that is the case study for MultiGreen. There's so many things we can learn from that building. I'm so glad you brought that up. So you joined us 5 months ago, and I'd like to have you share just a little bit with our listeners what you've been focused on and what you are going to focus on this next year.
It's hard to believe it's been 5 months, actually. The time is completely blitzed by, Randy. It's been exciting. And, as you know, with all the initiatives and activities we currently have underway, I'm really looking forward to the next 12 months. 2021, it's going to be all about rapid growth, and it's going to be really exciting. It's exciting for us. It's exciting for our investors, our capital partners, and our listeners. Since August, I've been involved in just about every aspect of building our business. And when I take a step back, I think of it in terms of really two categories. I think, as an early stage startup company, we have our real estate pursuits, and then we have the building of the MultiGreen operating platform. And on the real estate side, I've been hyper-focused on acquisitions and capital markets activity. We have a number of deals on the verge of closing in the next probably 30 to 45 days. I've been involved in underwriting all of those real estate projects. What I've really enjoyed is structuring our construction debt and working on the capital stack to make them successful financial projects, as well as coordinating with our development partners and working through the market studies and the strategy behind every project, every building going to market. Then on the operations front, on building the platform, I've really been working hard at our internal infrastructure and our IT systems. As you know, we're currently in the process of launching Yardi. Yardi is a fantastic system, and once it's up and running, it's going to be our ultimate comprehensive system over finance, accounting, property management. Today, in these last 5 months, it's been a real undertaking. We are building out the suite of systems and modules that go into it. We're taking our time, we're building it thoughtfully, we're doing it thoroughly. And when this is fully integrated, it's going to allow us to scale the business. We're going to achieve excellence in our financial reporting. It's going to be a great tool to be able to monitor the development projects we have ongoing, as well as our operating portfolio when we hit certificate of occupancy and we begin renting. Even our corporate activities and being able to measure our profitability. It's going to cover every part of our business operation, and it's going to be fantastic. And then in the same vein, obviously, as a startup company, a major focus has been placed on reporting, both financial reporting as well as our ESG reporting. This is a place really close to home because My background, as you know, is in accounting and financial reporting. I'm a CPA by trade, and my experience is primarily in the real estate sector on large SEC filers. So I've had a taste of what it takes to be a major player, being able to report to the public. So far, you've made it an initiative. We're in the midst of making a multi-million-dollar investment in our systems, in our data aggregation, in the analysis that we need to be really strong at reporting, both now, today, early phase, as well as strong financial reporting and ESG reporting out into the future as we expand the company. And then I'd say, just to kind of top it off, put the cherry on top, I've also been heavily involved in bringing in other software service providers to help us operate our business and manage our team. And what's been really interesting, and particularly with your help, Randy, is I think the power behind it is we're going to have a suite of systems that they all speak to each other. And it's going to create efficiency. It's going to reduce friction in our operation and our internal processes. And it's going to really be able to help us run lean, just as you alluded to before.
We're really fortunate to be in this position as a startup. We're actually a spin out, a 30-year spin out. And we're now just hyper-focusing on one asset class, one property type. And we're specializing in ground-up construction of multifamily. The niche that we've decided to target is attainable, sustainable, and tech enablement in all of that we do, including operations. So as our director of operations, Steve, what do you see as the strategic initiatives to take MultiGreen to that next level so we can accomplish this mission?
Absolutely. So short-term and long-term. In the short term, let's say, going into 2021, my 2 New Year's resolutions for MultiGreen is one, we need to have a successful year in the capital markets. And in my mind, that's 2 goals. It's closing our Series A round of capital for MultiGreen Properties, our holdco, as well as formalizing and scaling a platform for construction debt and equity raising at the property level that's going to really be able to allow us to capture our pipeline and accelerate those development projects. And the second short-term goal is really to build out the process, our strategy, and the team across all of our functional departments. And that's going to start with finance and accounting, which is my sweet spot, but it's also really important to build out the back office of our company. It goes hand in hand with the reporting I was talking about earlier. And then go into formalizing the acquisitions, the underwriting, the capital structuring that I was speaking about earlier. And then move out into the design and development process on the front end of building this development machine, all the way to reporting and the critical support and need of our capital partners, and building trust in the market and differentiating ourselves with ESG strategies and reporting. And then in the long term, I think about how much business has changed in general and really specifically in our industry. And by that, I mean the spotlight that's been shown on the battle against climate change, as well as housing affordability, to ongoing advances in technology throughout the sector. It's really driving smart building solutions, as well as aggregations of data and how to analyze that data to make better decision making. And in the long term, I think at MultiGreen, how we operate and go to market to be successful, we have to cover all those issues. We need to tackle climate change, affordability, and technological advancement. We're on pace for that. You've built it into our core mission, Randy. Our website draws it out transparently. This podcast series you've created puts forth a lot of our thought leadership behind it. And then my mission is really to build the processes and hire the right team to put all that into action. I think about where we are. It's really unique for a small startup company. We have a culture and a mindset on day one to build this the right way. And I'm really, really optimistic on our outlook.
I love how you focus on process and outlook. Many astute value investors will recognize this when we say that we enjoy the process more than the proceeds. And I know you like that phrase as well, Steve. Can you give us some insight into what process building means to you?
Absolutely. I spent 13 years at Ernst & Young in the real estate, hospitality, and construction practice there. That was an unbelievable place for me to launch my career. It gave me the opportunity to see and work on really top-notch real estate companies, based in both New York as well as the Northeast US. And, in a sense, it was like being able to pop open the hood of the car and be able to look at the engine. And during that time, I spent a lot of time working through the internal processes, controls, how these companies integrated their IT systems and utilized automation. And then my job was really around the design and the structure of those internal processes. And I spent a lot of time also testing the effectiveness of the processes. So it's something I'm very familiar with. It's a part of the job that I really loved. To me, when it comes to this phrase, process over outcomes, the process is so important. It's foundation. It's really the playbook. I believe it's impossible to have a successful business and to be able to identify risks and handle them the right way if we don't have a team that's coordinated around an established operating platform with sound design around our processes and IT systems and everything working together in an integrated fashion. And that includes a host of things. It's our owner program requirements. It's established governance. It's controls over transactions being processed, and also the criteria and the tools we use to make decisions.
You are the right guy for the right job. At Green Mesa, we always said, hey, use the right tool for the right job, specifically when we're talking about technology. But the same is true about people. And what an asset you are in joining our team. We're so excited to have you on board. To close this podcast, I want to ask you two final questions, and we've been asking this to all of our participants. And the first question is about locating your color and definition of green. So in the spirit of MultiGreen, what are some of your favorite green things?
Well, thank you very much for those kind words, Randy. I really appreciate them. In terms of green, I think what it reminds me of is fairways and greens. One of my favorite hobbies is golfing.
Yes.
And I love to be out on the course. I would say final answer, fairways and greens. I just wish I could hit more of them.
Well, Steve, if you come out to Las Vegas, we can get some golf in.
You bet.
My final question for you today is, it's the end of 2020, and we have shared this goal of building 40,000 homes by 2030. If you had just one wish for MultiGreen, what would it be? That's
an amazing question. It's an amazing goal. And I'm really excited to be on this journey with you. 40,000 units is an enormous goal, and it will be an enormous achievement. But when I spoke earlier about housing affordability, I think 40,000 units is the tip of the iceberg. And so my hope for MultiGreen at the end of this 10-year run is not only do we meet that goal or exceed that goal, I hope along the way we find development partners and capital partners and other members of our industry that join us in the mission and are as caring about it as we are and are as willing to set an audacious goal, because working together, I think we can really take a bite out of that issue at hand.
I love it. Steve, thank you so much for being with us on the podcast today.
Thanks, Randy. It's been great.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening. Join us as we build 40,000 attainable, sustainable, and tech-enabled multifamily homes by 2030. And if you like the content you're hearing, hit the subscribe button. Follow us at Think MultiGreen and sign up to learn more at www.multi.green.